Figure out what I was doing. Sugar, 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 running all around my brain. Every time I see my sugar, about to drive old Gaye insane. Yes, I candy on my mind. My baby fine.
If you don't already know, I am very pleased to be here talking to Gaye Adegbalola in her home and being treated to some of her wonderful, wonderful music. I do want to start, though, Gaye, with talking a little bit about the early days.
Okay.
You were born in Fredericksburg?
Born and raised and still live here.
That's excellent, and we are so privileged.
Yeah. I grew up on Douglas Street. It was a black block, and then Lewis Street was white. Winchester here was black. Amelia here was white. And it was all kind of, we were all together, but we weren't.
Yeah.
So we played separately. There was a separate playground, which my mama ran in City Park. And then over in Kenmore Park, there was a white playground. We went to school at Walker Grant, and of course the white kids went right around the corner from my house, which was Maury and Old Lafayette. So it was quite separate and not separate and equal. I distinctly remember, you know, 54 was the Supreme Court ruling, and it was quite some time after that before the ruling actually went into effect in Fredericksburg. When I left Fredericksburg, for a short while, I left in '61, and at that time things were still very much segregated. I remember participating in the sit-ins, and I remember going to the movie theaters, and yeah, we had some battles to fight.
But they were, it was difficult, I think, for those of us who were not directly involved, perhaps to know, especially if you were associated with the college, which is sort of a separate entity from the community as such, and to understand fully exactly what was experienced by adults and particularly children. I think that certainly would have been a very different experience. But you excelled in school. I understand you were valedictorian.
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
class.
I gotta excel though. You know, as it was back then, you know, it took a village. And the school was very much the focal point of the black community. So everybody pulled together to make sure that every kid had success. The school was quite small. My graduating class was only 21 people. So yeah, I was successful then. But you speak about Mary Washington College. When I was coming up, Mary Washington was the college on the hill, and it was a girls' school. Occasionally, they would be in a local parade, but it was very much a separation between Mary Washington and the town. You know, you just, when those girls went someplace, they either went to Marines up at Quantico, or either they went with UVA men. You know, it was not co-ed at the time. So there was a real distinction if you went to Mary Washington. You didn't come downtown, you know, not that I know of anyway. Yeah.
No, that's very true. Or if you did, you better have had gloves and stockings.
Yeah, right.
And so
right.
Come in threes.
Right. You had to do that.
It was quite. So you really, the community had several different entities that that comprised the community as a whole. All of them operating in their own separate little spheres.
Yeah. The leaders in the church were the leaders for the community, and I guess it's still quite like that because you had nothing to lose. Much of the employment was either through the hospital or the college. The employment, and we're talking about, you know, janitors, maids, orderlies, so on and so forth. And when I think back about those times, I could get real bitter about it. But we persevered, and we had the leadership, especially aside from the ministers, were Dr. Wyatt and Mrs. Mamie Scott and my mom. And they led the young people to fight in a passive way. Yeah, passive nonviolence resistance. Of course, I went on to change my tune a little later, but I always say, if you quote me, date me. Yeah.
But your parents were very special people, and they gave you so much in your background and experience. Your dad was a musician, was he not?
Yes, he was.
And
used to play at the Silver Perch up on Route 1.
My goodness, I remember that.
Yeah, okay.
But there was an opportunity for you to experience music, and I think you played in the band, did you not? And participate in the state all band?
Oh, yeah. You mean the high school band?
In high school, yeah.
We had the best band in the state. And by far, and one of the greatest teachers, Blonde Tipton, there were only like 150 some in the whole school, and about 60. In other words, every third person played an instrument and played it well. We always got superior ratings. And it was just a wonderful source of pride. My mom and dad helped to raise funds for us to get uniforms, and we were sharp. We were definitely sharp.
What instruments did you play?
I played flute and piccolo.
Ah, quite different from the instruments you played at
Yeah, well, I do play harmonica. I got like batches of harmonicas back here. But I was thrilled to play piccolo because, you know, you could hear it, you know. So when we got to do those John Philip Sousa marches, yeah, I would tear it up and I'd be real proud. Yeah, I loved the instruments, yeah.
Was there any opportunity in the music world at all to get together with the white community and to have some kind of integrated activity, or was it not possible?
Not that I know of. I know my dad often played for white people. He often played at, you know, different clubs and different private parties. But in terms of the dances, it's still quite like it is now. Yeah. I mean, you go to most social events in Fredericksburg, and most social events are still very black or very white. So it's desegregated, but it's not integrated. There's a big distinction.
This is, I think, an aspect of our community that perhaps is not much discussed. Certainly not much is done in the way of efforts. Organizations that existed to help the community to become truly integrated, like FACRO, are not functional. Where are we now?
In my life, I'm at the point where it just has to happen one-on-one and by example, and not just in terms of racial relations, but also in terms of